Cool place, cool fun, cool laugh, cool time. Cool friends, cool buzz, cool laugh, cool time. Check it out, there's just one rule. At Chuck E. Cheese's, just have fun. Be cool, cool munch, cool stuff, cool time. The real cool place to be a kid.
Good old Madison, a location that many fans in the community have visited over the past several years. Being a fan who visited this store quite often in the past few years, I have to admit it's pretty cool, and there's a lot of history with this location that I would like to discuss today. Before this video can begin, I'd like to thank Nathan Spees. As you guys know, I've helped him out with a lot of his history of videos, and that was very fun, so I've decided to make my own. Thanks, man. Without further ado, here it is. This is the history of Chuck E. Cheese's and Showbiz Pizza Place in Madison, Tennessee.
I bet that pizza tastes good.
You've never seen a place like Showbiz Pizza Place. We'll serve you a pizza second to none. So come for pizza, stay for the fun.
Showbiz Pizza Place with over 60 electronic games, pizza baked fresh every day, and a stage show extravaganza on 3 stages.
So come for pizza, stay for the fun.
Before we get into the history of the Madison location specifically, let's go over the history of Showbiz Pizza Place as a whole. The first Showbiz Pizza Place opened on March 3rd, 1980 in Kansas City, Missouri, and became very successful. It was founded by Robert Brock, who wanted to make a better arcade pizza place with more advanced animatronics. Brock was a former Chuck E. Cheese's franchisee, but this time he teamed up with Aaron Fector for more advanced animatronics, and Showbiz Pizza Place was born. Like I said earlier, Showbiz became very successful and expanded a lot throughout the 80s. Showbiz remained a family icon until their demise in the early 90s, but we'll talk about that later. For now, let's begin talking about the point of the video, Madison. The Showbiz Pizza Place in Madison, Tennessee opened on June 15, 1982, to the joy of locals everywhere. Madison actually opened as a franchise location and was owned by BAM Inc. In 1983, BAM Inc. would also open the Antioch, Tennessee location, which later on became Chuck E. Cheese, just like Madison, that I'm sure you all know. But anyways, back to Madison. Madison opened in the Rivergate Mall, which opened a little over 10 years earlier in 1971. Sadly, we don't have any footage of Madison as a Showbiz Pizza Place yet, but we do have a few pictures. Here we have a picture of Madison's balcony/showroom area in the early 80s. As you can see, they had the normal Showbiz Pizza Place patterns along the wall and wood paneling around the showroom. This probably applied to the rest of the store as well. Here's another photo of what is most likely Madison's Rock-A-Fire stage. Since there aren't any full photos of Madison's Rock-A-Fire, I'm going to try to show you guys what that would have looked like. Stage left featured Billy Bob Broccoli and Looney Bird working at Smitty's Super Service Station. Center stage featured Mitzi Mozzarella, Beach Bear, Fast Geronimo, and Duke LaRue. Antioch the Birthday Spider, who hid behind the cloud props on the stage. Mr. Sun and Mr. Moon, who sang backup vocals for the band and hid behind the forest backdrops on the stage. And of course, Choo Choo the Bear Cub. And on stage right, we have my favorite Rock-A-Fire character, Rolf the Wolf, along with his puppet Earl Smurl. Something else interesting to note is that while there are no photos, Madison is actually confirmed to have had Uncle Clunk sometime in the mid-80s. Since I've already said a lot about Madison's showroom and their Rock-A-Fire, let's move on to the rest of the store and what it would have looked like back in the Showbiz Pizza days. Madison has been confirmed to have had the sports room in their restaurant, which was pretty much an area where adults, and I guess kids too, could go to watch the latest sports games on TV. While we don't know the exact selection of games Madison had when they first opened, it's pretty safe to assume they had the same variety of games that other Showbiz Pizza places had at the time. Games like Skee-Ball, Pac-Man, and other 80s classics were definitely present in Madison in the early years. Madison also had a huge ball pit. Along with that, they had some kiddie rides such as a rocket ship ride, a fire truck ride, and how could they not have the Billy Bob carousel? They may have also had the Billy Bob wheel, but I'm not completely sure on that one. And of course, Madison had the Billy Bob walk-around character to meet kids during their birthday parties. He was also at other special events around Madison. Madison also most likely held teen nights like the majority of the other Showbiz pizza places at the time. By the late 1980s, things were starting to change at the Madison, Tennessee Showbiz pizza place. First in 1987, Madison, along with its sister store Antioch, were bought out by CEC Corporate. This pretty much means that they were no longer franchise stores, and corporate could decide what they wanted to do with them. This is pretty much confirmed, even though we don't have any pictures of Madison with it, but they most likely got the Showbiz Pizza Place campground stage set up to replace the Smitty's backdrops. Seeing that the other Showbiz stores in Tennessee made this change, it only makes sense that Madison did as well. Madison also got a minor remodel around this time, but nothing too major. Pretty much, they just got checkers painted on the walls, and I'm assuming they got the parody Rockafire posters from the 80s. I'm not too sure because there's no Madison pictures with these, but seeing as other locations got them, Madison probably had them too. The last change made to Madison in the Showbiz days is actually pretty interesting. Chuck E. Cheese made his debut at the restaurant, as you can see in this picture, which is actually of Madison. Little did the citizens know that Chuck's stay would be a little more permanent at the Madison store.
When you feel grumpy, frumpy, down and dumpy, icky, creepy, crabby, weepy, yucky, mad, or just plain sad, then you need Showbiz Pizza. Then you feel happy, giggly, glad and wiggly, wacky, bumptious, silly, scrumptious, funny, giddy, zany, witty, sassy, crazy, upsy daisy, all the Showbiz Pizza. Showbiz Pizza, where a kid can be a kid.
Before we get to the part of the video where the rat takes over Madison, let's go over Chuck E. Cheese's history up to this point in the video. The first Chuck E. Cheese's opened on May 17, 1977 in San Jose, California. It was founded by a man named Nolan Bushnell, who also happened to be a co-founder of Atari. He wanted a safe place for families to go to play the arcade games that Atari created. Along with this, he paired the concept with pizza and animatronic entertainment, which was pretty rare at the time. In 1984, Chuck E. Cheese's went bankrupt and were bought by their competitor, Showbiz Pizza Place. By the late 1980s, both brands were coexisting under the same ownership, and this is where we are at that point in the video, so let's get back to talking about Madison. By the early 1990s, the Madison Showbiz Pizza was still going strong. I believe it was around this time that Madison switched from the classic Showbiz logo to the newer one, but I'm not too sure on that. Although behind the scenes, some major changes were preparing to occur. You see, Showbiz Pizza Time Inc., the merged company, wanted Aaron Fechter to give up the rights to the Rockafire explosion. Since Aaron had created the Rockafire, and Showbiz Pizza Time Inc. did not plan on compensating Aaron for the rights, he refused. This meant that some major changes were going to have to happen within the company. Changes that'll make any Showbiz fan cry. Concept unification. Concept unification was a process where Showbiz took the Rockafire characters, stripped them down to their mechanisms, made them the Chuck E. Cheese characters, and gave them new positions on the stage. Earl Schmerl got removed completely, and Rolf de Wolf was replaced with Chuck E. Cheese himself. Duke LaRue was replaced by Pasquale the Chef. Fats Geronimo became Mr. Munch. Beach Bear became Jasper T. Jowls. Mitzi Mozzarella became Helen Henny. Billy Bob was removed altogether and most likely used for spare parts on the other animatronics. Looney Bird got retrofitted into Pizza Cam. The Sun became the character Mr. Building, but interestingly, Mr. Moon stayed behind. And last but not least, Antioch the Birthday Spider got removed and replaced with the Wink. As for Madison, they got concept unification in 1991, and this did not just involve the stage. This was an entire store remodel. Unlike the Showbiz Pizza days, we actually have a lot of documentation of Madison during this time, including footage, documents, and more, so I'll be able to help you guys understand what Madison was like during this time better than the Showbiz days. Starting off with Madison's new 1991 exterior, while we have no photos, we actually have the blueprints of what the exterior would have looked like. I did my best to make a visual of what this exterior would have looked like. Obviously, it had the Chuck E. Cheese's pizza logo, and if you noticed in the blueprints, there were also checkers beneath it. As we move on to the interior of the restaurant, this is where things get interesting. The sports room that was there since it was a Showbiz Pizza was removed. If you look closely in some 1992 footage of Madison, you can actually spot the 1990 parody posters. These probably replaced the Rock-afire parody posters, as anything Showbiz Pizza Place related, featuring their characters, or anything along those lines was removed. If we take a look inside Madison's showroom during the 1992 footage, you can actually spot the Chuck E. Cheese oil paintings. How cool is that? Speaking of Madison's showroom, they actually used to have another showroom entrance next to the stage, as well as another set of stairs coming off the balcony to go into the showroom. As for the game room, Madison turned their ball pit into a Chuck E. Cheese's ball crawl. Madison also got a bunch of new Chuck E. Cheese's themed games, such as Munch Mouth, Chuck E. Cheese Roll, which was just a rebranding of Skee Ball, as well as Chuck E.'s Hoops and Chuck E.'s Junior Basketball. Madison also upgraded to the new at the time Tuxedo Chuck Walkaround, as you can see in the 1992 footage. As for the public's reception to all of these changes, I think it was actually pretty positive. Apparently the pizza was very good, which I'm sure that goes back to the Showbiz Pizza Place days. Pretty soon afterwards, Madison would get an updated Chucky walkaround, as well as more outfits for him to wear, such as the USA jersey in this photo. As Madison progressed into the mid-90s, they were still going strong and beloved by all the locals in the area. But little did Madison's customers know that more changes were underway.
Chuck E. had a vision, and now they're making your old Chuck E. Cheeses even better than before, with more tubes than ever before, more magnificent games, an ocean of prizes, and tubes, glorious tubes, spanning his great world. And when it was finally complete, they had lunch. Check out the cooler, crazier Chuck E. Cheeses, when a kid can be a kid in a whole new way.
Chuck E. Cheese, please.
It's safe to say Chuck E. Cheese was going through some major changes in the mid-1990s. In order to stay relevant to the kids of the 90s, Chuck E. Cheese wanted to make their restaurants cooler, and Madison was no exception to this. So in the mid-90s, Madison officially remodeled into a Phase 3 store. Thankfully, mostly everything during this time period was documented at Madison, so I'll be able to show you guys what the store looked like during this era. Except for the exterior. Unfortunately, we have no photos of Madison's Phase 3 exterior, but I'm pretty sure I can show you guys what it would have looked like. Pretty much, I believe they removed the checkers, removed the pizza and Chuck E. Cheese's Pizza Chuck logo, and replaced it with the Coach Chuck logo, and that's what their exterior signage would have looked like. The entrance to the store was also moved during this time. And like I said earlier, we have pictures of pretty much everything in Madison besides the exterior during this time, so get ready for some cool photos. The checkers painted on the walls inside the restaurant were painted over, and the wooden checker signs replaced them. All of the early concept unification artwork was removed and replaced with new posters and signage. They got the 1991 Chuck E. Cheese portrait, a round wooden Chuck sign above the front counter, another round wooden Chuck sign above the showroom entrance along with the wooden showroom signs, as well as a normal Coach Chuck logo wooden sign in between the checker signs. As for posters, Madison had the Pasquale postcard, the Jasper postcard, the baseball field poster, the Elvis poster, the Costume Feet Theater poster, as well as the amazing and legendary Mount Chuckmore. There were also the beverages and salad bar wooden signs. There was also a lot of sports decor around the restaurant, as well as wooden signs that were shaped like stars and oversized crayons. Also during this time, Madison got that iconic photo ride red car, and Madison's was actually pretty interesting. Madison's had vest Chucky, but with the Coach Chuck cap, pretty strange. Not saying it's bad, I actually think it looks pretty cool. The Phase 3 remodel also introduced the fan favorite sky tubes, but they did come at a price. So remember that other showroom entrance I mentioned earlier in the video? Well, when installing the sky tubes, they actually blocked that entrance. So they walled it over, added the prop shelf, and added a poster and planters. Speaking of the prop shelves, Madison installed one on each side of the stage. And each of them had these super cool Chuck E. Cheese statues. A wheelchair lift was also added to the showroom, replacing the other set of stairs leading into it. And of course, Madison got those iconic wall planters, as well as the neon lights around the store. And while there are no photos of this, I believe it's likely that Madison got the record posters in their showroom. And yeah, this was pretty much Madison's entire Phase 3 remodel, that is, at the time. Later on, there will be more additions to Madison's Phase 3, but we'll get into that later. Interestingly, the stage stayed the same during the Phase 3 remodel, although this would change very soon. Around 2000, all of the characters' masks and cosmetics, besides the prop characters, were replaced with plastic cosmetics. Around the time of the switch from latex to plastic cosmetics, Munch Jr. was also removed from the stage. Jasper also upgraded to his flying cheese guitar. With the recent introduction of Avenger Chucky, Madison was going to go through a few more changes, but nothing major.
What a move, Spike!
Dad, Chuck E. Cheese's, the real cool place to be a kid. Nice thinking.
In 2001, Madison would receive a minor remodel, but this would not be replacing Phase 3, it would actually be adding on to it. So you may be asking, what changed? Well, Madison got the legendary Toddler Zone. With this new addition, Madison added some new art and games. First off, they got that awesome sandbox poster with the toddler CEC characters. This is also the time when Madison would add those iconic Warhol Chucks, which would actually be recycled for their Phase 4 remodel. But we'll talk about that later. Madison also added many new games and rides, including the Bob the Builder ride, the Clifford the Big Red Dog ride, that awesome Helen car ride, the also awesome basketball shoe game, and how could we forget the legendary Chatty Chucky. As for other changes, Madison would get the Cool Chuck walk around this time. Something else that's pretty cool, Madison actually got the purple Chuck outfit. According to these pictures from the early 2000s, Madison also apparently had the Jasper and Helen walk-around costumes. You see, in the early 2000s, Chucky, Jasper, and Helen could be seen at various sporting events around Nashville. If you look in this picture right here, you can actually spot Chucky interacting with the Tennessee Titans mascot, as well as other mascots from Nashville's other sports teams. Seeing that Madison is closer to Inner Nashville than Antioch, it's more than likely that the Helen and Jasper costumes are from Madison. I really wish we had more pictures of these Helen and Jasper costumes because they're actually really good looking. Now there is a slight chance that these costumes weren't Madison's as they could have been borrowed from another store in Tennessee, but seeing as there's no pictures of these Jasper and Helen suits at other stores, I'm assuming they're Madison's. The only pictures we have of these Helen and Jasper costumes are at these sporting events in the early 2000s, so they must not have been used very often. And according to the date on the bot's hat, Madison gave their Chucky animatronic the Cool Chuck outfit in early 2004. Also something interesting to note, Madison went all out decorating their stage for Christmas. I mean, just look at the stage, that looks awesome. Also in the mid-2000s, the Avenger Chucky costume made its debut at Madison. As much as I love Madison's Phase 3 remodel, sadly nothing ever lasts forever, so it's time to move on.
It's Chuck E. Cheese's new birthday party, starring your kid and featuring his own special medallion. Sweet! A balloon bouquet, a lunchbox, 100 tickets, and more. Chuck E. Cheese's new birthday party. Your kid gets the star treatment, you get the credit. And right now you get even more. An extra 20 tokens free when you book your child's party online at chuckecheese.com. That's 20 extra tokens free, plus new party platters and new birthday cakes. At Chuck E. Cheese's new birthday party,
Where a kid can be a star.
In 2007, Madison would go under the Phase 4 remodel, so let's go over what changed. First off, Madison obviously got a totally renovated exterior, featuring that iconic thumbs up Avenger Chucky logo in red letters. All of the dim lighting inside the restaurant was replaced with new bright fluorescent lights. Also something interesting, unlike other Phase 4 remodels, Madison actually kept their showroom walls and balcony seating area, which is pretty cool. As you can see in this picture taken in the middle of Madison's Phase 4 remodel, they started taking down all the Phase 3 artwork and it was thrown out. Besides those iconic Warhol Chuck posters, of course, they were recycled during the remodel and reused in the showroom. This is also the remodel that introduced the purple walls to the store. The new artwork Madison got includes the big token near the entrance, the Avenger Chucky walk-around portrait, more smaller Warhol Chucks, Ambassador of Fun, a full set of those 1999 Chuck E. Cheese character portraits, King of Cool, Chucky's Garden Fresh salad bar, Chucky's freshly made pizza, that poster that shows Jasper riding a tractor, Titan of Tokens, Grand Marshal of Games, and those kinda creepy showroom posters with the kids on them. The toddler zone was removed, and a lot of older games and rides got replaced with newer games and rides, but the Sky Tubes remained, as well as some of the classic games and rides. And yeah, that's pretty much everything that changed in Madison's Phase 4 remodel in 2007. Surprisingly, no changes were made to the stage during Madison's Phase 4 remodel, but just a few months after the remodel was completed, some changes would come. I'm sure some of you are familiar with the Birmingham, Roebuck, Alabama Chuck E. Cheese's location. This location housed a 3-stage, and like most of the other 3-stage locations in Alabama, it had special modifications made to it. Some of these modifications included Pasquale sitting on bricks instead of his normal stool, and a painted Chuck E. Cheese wink prop. Unfortunately, in November 2007, the Birmingham Roebuck Chuck E. Cheese's closed its doors forever. But in early 2008, just a few months after Birmingham Roebuck's closure, some of the props from their stage would re-emerge at Madison. Madison actually replaced their original wink, which they had had since concept unification, with the one from Birmingham Roebuck. The painted wink made Madison's stage a lot more unique compared to other locations. The bricks Pasquale was sitting on at Roebuck were also transferred over to Madison. So it's pretty cool some Roebuck history got to live on. In the late 2000s, the original concept unification TV was removed and replaced with a new TV. Also in the late 2000s, Madison would get a new Avenger Chucky walk-around costume, this time with short fur. Also around 2010, Madison would receive the Ticket Blaster. As the early 2010s rolled around, the Madison store was still doing very good, but little did people know, a new rat was fixing to take over.
Say this is gonna be an awesome day. Run and jump and play and play, play, play. Say rock this place in the name of fun. Don't just play, win. You won. Yeah. Find a favorite, it's just your size. You can even pick your own prize. Everybody say cheese is funner. Everybody say cheese is funner. Say cheese is funner at Chuck E. Cheese and check it out and see what you can win. Where a kid can be a kid.
In mid-2012, CEC Entertainment unveiled a new design for their Chucky mascot, replacing our beloved Avenger Chucky with a new Rockstar rat. This change wouldn't affect Madison at first, but as 2013 rolled around, some things would start to change. By May of 2013, Madison was still using that short for Avenger Chucky walk-around that I mentioned earlier. But in summer 2013, Madison would receive the new Rockstar Chucky walk-around costume. In September 2013, the Chucky Bot's cap was removed in order to look like the new Rockstar design. As the mid-2010s rolled around, more fans started visiting Madison, and it quickly became known as one of the most good-condition 3-stages in the country. As more 3-stage stores would begin to remodel and close, Madison would receive parts from these stores and use them on their show. Sometime around 2014 to 2016, Madison's original blue latex pizza cam got replaced with the new black plastic one, similar to the one Huntsville and Roanoke had. This time also marked the end for the sky tubes, as they were completely removed from the restaurant. Also, apparently in 2017, there was a fire at Madison, and I couldn't really find much info on it other than pictures, but apparently it had something to do with the stage, but I couldn't find out anything else like I said. In 2019, the Jasper animatronics hat was removed because it kept falling off of the bot. In late 2019, the technician who kept Madison in perfect condition for many years left the store. We wouldn't see the effects of this change right away, but over the next few years, it would start to show. In late 2019, Madison would get an exterior renovation due to the Rivergate Mall as a whole getting an exterior renovation. All of the exterior signage was taken down, and many fans thought Madison was either closing or remodeling. But thankfully, Madison was here to stay along with their 3-stage. Surprisingly, they reused the Avenger sign during this renovation. But not long after, something would happen that would change Chuck E. Cheese forever. As I'm sure you all know, the COVID-19 pandemic took the world by storm in early 2020 and had a huge effect on Chuck E. Cheese's. CEC closed down all of their locations and some never reopened. Later that year, when other locations started reopening, Madison remained closed. Thankfully, at the beginning of fall 2020, Madison would reopen to the public. But something sad was preparing to happen. In October 2020, Memphis Hickory Hills 3-stage was removed. This closure saddened many fans, including myself. This also officially made Madison the last 3-stage show in Tennessee. In December 2020, Chucky's Cool Chuck cap was brought back for a short amount of time. In early 2021, Madison would go through another change. All of the walls painted purple during the Phase 4 remodel were repainted white to match the rest of the store. In early 2021, Madison's stage was actually holding up pretty well. All of the characters were pretty good minus a few flaws, and all of the prop characters were still working. But throughout 2021, Madison's stage would only get worse. By summer 2021, Building's Tolomatic cylinder, aka the cylinder that actually makes him rise, completely stopped working, so they just had to prop him up. But in November 2021, something would happen that would change everything. You see, around November, Madison was put on Chuck E. Cheese's remodeling website, aka Parkway. This didn't mean Madison was remodeling right away, but all the plans and blueprints for their remodel were leaked. By January 2022, Madison's show was a complete mess. Which I guess that makes sense because this is the original time Madison was supposed to begin their remodel, but all of the prop characters were completely dead, and Munch was completely dead as well. This was really bad, and all of the characters had major flaws. But then something crazy would happen, involving water. You see, Madison actually had a flood in their showroom, which pushed back their remodel by months. So Madison was here to stay, but not for long. Because in April 2022, Madison would be hit by the 2.0 plague.
Feel that? It's that next level, all-you-can-play games. Ticket Blaster Master and prizes after. Have your cake and pizza too? Best birthday ever feeling. Only at Chuck E. Cheese.
In April 2022, the news came that nobody ever wanted to hear. The Madison, Tennessee Chuck E. Cheese's began the 2.0 remodel. I'm sure most of you have heard about 2.0, but for those unfamiliar, Chuck E. Cheese's 2.0 was a test concept CEC started in late 2017, and by 2019 it was announced that all locations in the chain would receive this remodel. This remodel is known for a lot of bad changes to the restaurant, but I believe the most controversial is the removal of the animatronic stages as they get replaced with TVs and a dance floor. And in early April, Madison will begin this remodel. I'll do my best to explain Madison's remodel process to you guys. On the night of April 6th, all the store art in Madison was removed and thrown away. Sometime between the artwork being removed and the stage being removed, the exterior signage was taken down and left the store looking pretty blank. Obviously, Madison got stuff like new booths, carpet, stuff like that, but there's not really any specific day on when these minor changes happen, so yeah. Then, on April 20th through April 23rd, the Madison, Tennessee 3 stage was finally removed. A huge tarp was placed in front of the stage, and behind the tarp, the animatronics had their cosmetics removed, the stages were demolished, and the animatronics laid alone on the floor. After this, all of the stage props and animatronics were thrown out, marking the end of Madison's 3 stage. Soon afterwards, Madison's exterior was repainted, preparing for the new sign. Not long after, the new signs arrived. And with that, Madison's new exterior was complete, but on the inside, it wasn't quite finished yet. Finally, the new booths, chairs, and artwork on the inside of the restaurant were installed. New games and rides were added to the store, while some older ones got removed. Interestingly, the showroom walls were kept once again, leaving another Showbiz remnant in the store. And everyone's least favorite part of the remodel, the dance floor was installed and the video wall began to be installed. And I just find this extremely funny, but before the video wall was finished, Madison actually put the 3-stage TV where the video wall would be put. But soon the video wall was finished and the posters were put up next to it. Now obviously, most fans did not like this remodel because it got rid of our beloved animatronics. Now you're probably wondering, where did the animatronics end up after being thrown out? Well, maybe I'll reveal that in a future video, but we need to move on. Not long after the remodel was completed, Madison held the grand reopening for their store. I believe the Helen walk-around was present at this event, but I don't know if it was the Avenger or Rockstar version. And that was the last major event to happen at Madison. And here we are today. Madison is still open with their 2.0 remodel. If you want to visit Madison, they're located at 2070 Gallatin Pike North, Madison, Tennessee 37115. The store is located in the Rivergate Mall/shopping center, and unfortunately, this mall has become pretty rundown in recent years. The city of Madison has also become really rundown as well, recently becoming a hot place for violence. I'm not sure what this means for the Madison CEC, but I think it will be open for the foreseeable future. Thank you all for watching this video, as it was really fun researching this store and working on this video in general. Until next time, bye for now.
Wow! Thank you. Thank you. Take it away, Jasper T.
You got it, Chuckaroony.